literature. Literature is a collection of written, spoken, or visual works that express ideas, emotions, stories, or knowledge, often valued for their artistic, cultural, or intellectual significance. It encompasses various forms, styles, and genres. Here are the main kinds of literary works. Number 1. Prose. Prose is a type of writing that is written through the use of sentences. These sentences are combined to form paragraphs. This type of writing is broad and includes both fiction and non-fiction. Example: To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee is an example of fictional prose. It is written in complete sentences and divided through paragraphs. Number 2. Fiction. This genre involves narrative created from the imagination. In fiction, there are 7 kinds of books. For number 1, fairy tale. Fairy tale is fantastic stories that often involve elements of magic and magical characters. Example: Cinderella by Charles Perrault. Number 2, a fictional anecdote. A short story that is funny and interesting. The story is created based on the writer's imagination. The characters, setting, and time in the story are fictional. It often uses phrases like a fairyland. Anecdotes usually contains criticism or satire about the phenomenon, policy, public service, or behavior of those in power. Example: The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County by Mark Twain. Number 3, novel. It is generally long and narrative. It often explores characters, events, and themes in a detailed and structured way. Example: School for Good and Evil, A World Without Prince by Simon Chinami. Number 4, short story. A short narrative story with characters, a plot, and setting. Example: The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. Number 5, fables. A story that is passed down. Its purpose is to teach lessons. A fable is about animals, plants, or forces of nature that can talk and act like humans. Example: The Fox and the Grapes by Aesop. And for 6, legends. Legends are about real-life people and what they did. Legends always have an important purpose, but the facts are always a little exaggerated to make them more interesting and exciting. Example: The Legend of King Arthur and His Knights by James Knowles. And for number 7, myth is traditional stories or narratives often rooted in the beliefs and value of a culture that explain natural phenomena, human behavior, or the origins of the world. Myths typically involve supernatural beings, gods, heroes, or mythical creatures, and are passed down through generation, usually through oral storytelling. Example: mythology, timeless tales of gods and heroes by Edith Hamilton. Number 3, nonfiction. These works are based on real events, facts, and information. In nonfiction, there are 8 kinds of books. For number 1, biography. A detailed account of a personal life written by someone else. Example: Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. Number 2, autobiography is a person's life story written by themselves. Example: A Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. Number 3, nonfiction anecdote. A short story that is funny and interesting. The story is based on true events. The character in the story actually exists. Anecdote usually contains criticism or satire about phenomenon, policy, public service, or the behavior of those in power. Example, The Glass Castle by Janet Waltz. For number 4, memoir is a personal account of focusing on specific events or experience in the author's life. Example, Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. Number 5, essay. Essay is works that explore a particular topic, reflecting the author's thoughts, arguments, or observation. Example, Consider the Lobster by David Foster Wallace. Number 6, journalism is a factual reporting of news, events, or analysis often published in the newspapers, magazines, or online. Example, All the President's Men by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward. Number 7, reference books is a books that provide factual information such as dictionaries, encyclopedias, or manuals. Example, Oxford English Dictionary by Clarendon Press. Number 8, textbook is educational books that explain concepts in the various fields of study such as science, history, or mathematics. Example, Biology by Neil A. Campbell Rees. Number 4, poetry is written in lines that have meter and rhythm. These lines are put together to form stanza in contrast to other writings and utilize sentences that are divided into paragraphs. Poetry often relies heavily on figurative language such as metaphors and similes, and in order to convey meanings and create image for the reader type of a poem one is dealing with, it is useful to keep two general distinctions in mind: lyric poetry and narrative poetry. Lyric poetry is a type of poetry intended to be sung with instrument. However, the definition has expanded to just be anything that expresses the feelings and emotions of the poet. Subcategories of the lyric are, for example, elegy, ode, sonnet, dramatic monologue, and most occasional poetry. Number 1, elegy. Elegy is a type of poem or song that expresses sorrow or lament, typically in responses to the death of someone or something. It is a reflective, often mournful piece of writing that commemorates or honors the deceased, focusing on themes like loss, grief, and memory. Elegies can also meditate on life, mortality, and the passing of time. The characteristic of an elegy. Number 1, themes of mourning. Elegies are primarily about loss, either of a person, a way of life, or something significant that is gone. 2, tone. The tone is often sorrowful, melancholic, or contemplative. Number 3, structure. Traditional elegies may follow specific patterns, but modern elegies can vary widely in structure.
I sing to him that rests below, and since the grasses round me wave, I take the grasses of the grave, and make them pipes whereon to blow. The traveler hears me now and then, and sometimes harshly will he speak. This fellow would make weakness weak, and melt the waxen hearts of men. Another answers, let him be, he loves to make parade of pain, that with his piping he may gain the praise that comes to constancy. A third is wroth, is this an hour for private sorrow's barren song, when more and more the people throng the chairs and thrones of civil power? A time to sicken and to swoon, when science reaches forth her arms to feel from world to world, and charms her secret from the latest moon? Behold, ye speak an idle thing, ye never knew the sacred dust. I do but sing because I must, and pipe but as the linnets sing. And one is glad, her note is gay, for now her little ones have ranged, and one is sad, her note is changed, because her brood is stolen away.
Number 2, ode is a typical type of a lyrical poem that expresses deep feelings or thoughts about the particular subject. Often in a formal or elevated tone, it is typically written to praise or glorify an event, person, object, or concept. The characteristic of an ode. Number 1. Formal tone. Odes are often written in the serious, formal, or elevated style. Number 2. Praise or admiration. The subject of an ode is usually something worthy of admiration, such as nature, a person, an idea, or even an abstract concept. Number 3. Lyrical quality. The poem is often musical and rhythmic with a sense of grandeur. Number 4. Structure. Traditional odes have a specific structure, such as the Pindaric ode, with a triadic pattern of stanzas, or the Horatian ode with more regular, simpler stanzas.
Ode to the West Wind. Written by Percy Shelley. O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, thou, from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven, like ghosts from an enchanted fleeing, yellow and black and pale and hectic red, pestilence-stricken multitudes. O thou, who chariotest to their dark wintry bed the winged seeds, where they lie cold and low, each like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow her clarion o'er the dreaming earth, and fill, driving sweet buds like flocks to feed in air, with living hues and odours plain and hill. Wild spirit, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, hear, oh hear. Thou on whose stream, mid steep skies' commotion, loose clouds like earth's decaying leaves are shed, shook from the tangled boughs of heaven and ocean, angels of rain and lightning, there are spread on the blue surface of thine airy surge, like the bright hair uplifted from the head of some fierce Maenad, even from the dim verge of the horizon to the zenith's height, the locks of the approaching storm. Thou dirge of the dying year, to which this closing night will be the dome of vast sepulchre, vaulted with all thy congregated might of vapours, from whose solid atmosphere black rain and fire and hail will burst. O hear! Thou who didst waken from his summer dreams the blue Mediterranean, where he lay, lulled by the coil of his crystalline streams, beside a pumice isle in Bay's Bay, and saw in sleep old palaces and towers quivering within the waves' intenser day, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers so sweet, the sense faints picturing them. Thou for whose path the Atlantic's level powers cleave themselves into chasms, while far below the sea blooms and the oozy woods which wear the sapless foliage of the ocean know thy voice, and suddenly grow grey with fear, and tremble and despoil themselves. O hear! If I were a dead leaf thou mightest bear, if I were a swift cloud to fly with thee, a wave to pant beneath thy power, and share the impulse of thy strength, only less free than thou, O uncontrollable. If even I were as in my boyhood, and could be the comrade of thy wanderings over heaven, as then, when to outstrip thy skiey speed scarce seemed a vision, I would never have striven as thus with thee in prayer in my sore need. Oh, lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud. I fall upon the thorns of life. I bleed. A heavy weight of hours has chained and bowed one too like thee, tameless and swift and proud. Make me thy lair, even as the forest is. What if my leaves are falling like its own? The tumult of thy mighty harmonies will take from both a deep autumnal tone, sweet though in sadness. Be thou, spirit fierce, my spirit. Be thou me, impetuous one. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe like withered leaves to quicken a new birth. And, by the incantation of this verse, scatter, as from an unextinguished hearth, ashes and sparks, my words among mankind. Be through my lips to an awakened earth the trumpet of a prophecy. O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind?
The 3. Sonnet. A poetic form that traditionally consists of 14 lines written in a specific rhyme scheme and metrical pattern, usually iambic pentameter, or 10 syllables per line, alternating unstressed and stressed syllables. Sonnets often explore themes like love, beauty, nature, or philosophical ideas. Characteristic of sonnet. Number 1. Sonnet must be 14 lines long, and they are almost always written iambic pentameter. Number 2. This is a meter in which each line of a poetry consists of 10 syllables. Number 3. Rhyme scheme of Petrarchan or Italian sonnets follow an ABBA, ABBA, CDE, CDE. For number 4, rhyme scheme of Shakespearean sonnets follow an ABAB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG.
Sonnet 55. Not marble, nor the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme. But you shall shine more bright in these contents than unswept stone besmeared with sluttish time. When wasteful war shall statues overturn, and broils root out the work of masonry, nor Mars his sword, nor war's quick fire shall burn the living record of your memory. 'Gainst death and all oblivious enmity shall you pace forth, your praise shall still find room, even in the eyes of all posterity, that wear this world out to the ending doom. So, till the judgment that yourself arise, you live in this, and dwell in lovers' eyes.
For number 4, dramatic monologue, a type of a poem or speech in which a single speaker addresses an audience, or either implied or actual, and reveals aspects of their characters, emotions, or situation. The speaker in a dramatic monologue often speaks at length, and the poem is structured in such a way that the speaker's thoughts and feelings are conveyed in the dramatic, revealing way. Characteristic of a dramatic monologue. Number 1, single speaker. There is only one speaker who is usually speaking in the first person. Number 2, implied audience. The speaker may be talking to another character or themselves, but the audience is not necessarily heard or seen. Number 3, revelation of the character. Through the speech, the speaker reveals key aspects of their personality, emotion, thoughts, or circumstance. Number 4, dramatic context. The speech often occurs at significant moments or it may be a reflection of a critical or emotional situation in the speaker's life. Number 5. Indirectly presented information. Information about the speaker's situation, identity, or motivation is often subtly conveyed through their speech rather than being directly stated. The Sunset of the City by Gwendolyn Brooks. Already I'm no longer looked at with lechery or love. Fathers and sons have put me away with marbles and dolls, are gone from the house. My husband and lovers are peasants or somewhat polite, and night is night. It's a real chill out, the January thing, and I'm not deceived. I do not think it is still summer, because sun stays and birds continue to sing. It is summer gone that I see. It is summer gone. The sweet flowers and drying and dying down. The grasses forgetting their blaze and consenting to brown. It is a real chill out. The fall creeps comes. I'm aware there's a winter to hate. There is no warm house that is fit with my need. I'm cold in this cold house, whose washed echoes are tremulous down lost halls. I'm a woman and dusty, standing among new affairs. I'm a woman who hurries through her prayers, tin intimation of a quiet core, to be my deserts and my dear relief. Come, there shall be such islanding from grief, a small communion with the master shore Sunday, and I incline this ear to tint, constant a dull dilemma, whether to dry in the humid pallor or to live and die. Somebody move it, somebody want to joke. Number 5. Occasional poetry refers to poems that are written for a specific event, occasion, or purpose, often to commemorate or celebrate something particular. These poems are typically inspired by or directly related to particular moments in time, such as a public event, personal milestones, or societal occurrence. The purpose of occasional poetry is often to mark, celebrate, or reflect on the significance of the occasion. Characteristic of occasional poetry. Number 1. Tied to a specific event. The poem is created for a particular occasion, such as a wedding, funeral, national celebration, or personal achievement. Number 2. Formal tone. Occasional poems often have a formal or ceremonial tone, as they aim to capture the gravity of significance or the events being commemorated. Number 3. Purposeful. The poem is meant to honor, praise, or reflect on the events or person involved, and often aligns with a social, cultural, or political themes of the time. Number 4. Occasionally public. These poems are sometimes performed in public settings. At events, they are created for or shared among those involved in the occasion.
A Song for St. Cecilia's Day by John Dryden. From harmony, from heavenly harmony, this universal frame began. When nature underneath a heap of jarring atoms lay, and could not heave her head, the tuneful voice was heard from high, "Arise, ye more than dead!" Then, cold and hot, and moist and dry, in order to their stations leap, and music's power obey. From harmony, from heavenly harmony, this universal frame began. From harmony to harmony, through all the compass of the notes it ran, the diapason closing full in man. What passion cannot music raise and quell? When Jubal struck the corded shell, his listening brethren stood around, and, wondering, on their faces fell to worship that celestial sound. Less than a god, they thought there could not dwell within the hollow of that shell, that spoke so sweetly and so well. What passion cannot music raise and quell? The trumpet's loud clangour excites us to arms with shrill notes of anger and mortal alarms. The double, double, double beat of the thundering drum cries, "Hark! The foes come! Charge! Charge! 'Tis too late to retreat!" The soft, complaining flute in dying notes discovers the woes of hopeless lovers, whose dirge is whispered by the warbling lute. Sharp violins proclaim their jealous pangs and desperation, fury, frantic indignation, depths of pains and height of passion for the fair, disdainful dame. But oh, what art can teach, what human voice can reach the sacred organ's praise? Notes inspiring holy love, notes that wing their heavenly ways to mend the choirs above. Orpheus could lead the savage race, and trees unrooted left their place, sequacious of the lyre. But bright Cecilia raised the wonder higher. When to her organ vocal breath was given, an angel heard, and straight appeared, mistaking earth for heaven.
My friends, Anna will be explained for the next material.
Narrative culture is when a very influential phenomenon or incident is being described. Subcategories of narrative culture: epic, folk epic, ballad, and romance. Epic is a long narrative form that tells the story of heroes' adventures or deeds, often of significant cultural, national, or historical importance. Epics generally have the following features: 1. The hero is a figure of great importance. 2. The setting of the poem is ample in scale. 3. The action involves superhuman deeds in the battle or long and arduous journey. 4. The gods of supernatural being take an interest or exercise. There are catalogs of some of the principal characters introduced in the formal detail. 6. The narrator begins by stating his theme and invoking abuse. 7. The narrative starts in the medial res, that is in the middle of things, when the action is at critical point. For the example, like Paradise Lost by John Milton poem. Mock epic is a type of satirical poem that imitates the form, style, and conventions of the traditional epic, but applies them to trivial or absurd subjects. Key characteristic of a mock epic: epic style. The poem adapts the formal, grand, and elevated language typical of epic culture, with long, elaborate descriptions, heroic deeds, and supernatural interventions. Trivial subject matter: mock epic focus on the trivial, representation, and often with humorous or absurd outcomes. Satire and irony: mock epics are typically written to poke fun at the seriousness of traditional epics. Exaggeration: like traditional epics, mock epics often imply exaggeration, but in a comedic or ironic way. Parody: a mock epic parodies the typical epic structure, including of the invocation of the muse, the journey or quest, and the portray of the protagonist's heroic feats. Example like The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope. Ballad is type of narrative poem or song that tells a story, typically about love, tragedy, heroism, or a significant event. Ballads are often characterized by their simple language, rhythmic structure, and repetition. Key characteristic of ballad: narrative structure. Ballad tells a story, often involving a central character or event. Simple and direct language. The language in ballad is straightforward. Repetition. Ballads reference or repeat lines or stanza. Rhyme and manners. Ballads often follow a regular rhyme, theme, and manner. Dialogue. Many ballads incorporate dialogue between characters focus on action. The plot of ballad typically focuses on event rather than in-depth character development. For the example of ballads, is Team Plugging by A. Husman. Romance, a form of narrative poetry which developed in 12th century France. The word Romance refers to the French language, which evolved from a dialect of the Roman language, Latin. For the example, like Ibylls of the King by Albert Tennyson. Other types of poem and epigram, from the Greek, a short, clever, and funny way of saying something. It can be a poem or sentence, usually said by a popular and famous figure. It usually has twists or surprise at the end. The example like to be or not to be, that is the question. William Shakespeare. Haiku is a traditional form of Japanese poetry that consists of the seven syllable first made up of three unrhymed lines of five, seven, and five syllable. Example: Haiku for You by Sonia Sunset. Love between us is speech and breath. Loving you is a long river running. Limerick are funny and sometimes rude. Poems which were made popular by Edward Lear in the 19th century. Characteristic of limerick structure. A limerick consists of five lines. The first, second, and the fifth lines are longer and typically have three beats. The third and fourth lines are shorter and usually have two beats diameter. Rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme is AABBA, meaning lines 1 and 2 and 5 rhyme with each other. Lines 3 and 4 form a spirit rhyme pair. Example of limerick. There was an old man in a boat who said, I'm float. When they said, no, you ain't, he was ready to faint. Then unhappy old man in a boat. Drama, written for performance. Dramas involve dialogue and action. They can be further classified into 1. Tragedy. This is a form of drama that is filled with the themes of death, murder, pain, and other dark themes. They end on an happy note. The protagonists in a tragedy usually have a tragic flow, a characteristic that leads to their fall. 2. Comedy. The aim of comedy is to make the audience laugh and have fun. The tone is always light, and they usually end on a happy note. Tragic comedy. This combines both the features of a comedy and a tragedy. It can be sad and also have a happy ending or be a serious play with a lot of humor. 4. Melodrama. This type of drama is written and performed to elicit a feeling in the audience. It is usually exaggerated and has a simple theme. 5. A farce is a form of drama that makes use of violent situations that are not probable, exaggeration, and violence while being humorous. It is considered to be inferior to comedy and everything is absurd in farce.
Conclusion: fiction, non-fiction, prose, drama, and poetry each offer different approaches to storytelling and expression. Fiction creates imaginative worlds, while non-fiction provides factual insights grounded in reality. Prose is the primary form for both, offering clarity and directness, while drama uses dialogue and performance to bring stories to life. Poetry, with its rhythmic and condensed language, conveys emotions and imagery depending our understanding of the human experience.